Welcome to the Purpose Focused Advisor, a podcast for financial planners, advisors, and RIAs looking to get the most out of yourself and your business. Join Rob Brown and Phil Calandra as they walk you through a journey that will allow you to take action in your business and your life so you can be the best that you can possibly be. Now here are your hosts, Rob and Phil.
Welcome back to the Purpose Focused Advisor. Rob Brown and Phil Calandra here with our special guest in Iowa, West Des Moines, Iowa, David Strege. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
So, David, I want to jump right in. I just love your background on your website, and one of the things that intrigued me the most, which you may be surprised that I'm starting with, I said I was going to talk about this, is you moved 21 times in 21 years when you were coming up, and it wasn't because your dad was in the military. I bet there's a story that relates to that and how that has shaped the way that you have gone about building your business as a financial planner.
Yes, I was born in Wickenburg, Arizona, and lived in Arizona, moved up to the Northwest, Washington, Oregon, lived many places there. And my dad was a salesman from day one, and there were always better opportunities somewhere else. So we moved a lot. And then early in my business career, my offices kept moving. So a man on the move, you see a lot of places, and you know places you don't want to live and places you like living. So I've been in Iowa since 1977 when I went to Drake University, and stayed here ever since.
Awesome. And you have had quite a career in financial planning, not only in building your own business, but also taking very senior level positions with the CFP board.
Yeah, as what I have found over time is as you become involved in your profession, you really get out of associations or different memberships, what you put into it. And I was definitely blessed joining way back then the International Association for Financial Planning, served on local boards, ended up on the national board as it became the Financial Planning Association. And then from there was asked to join the board of the Certified Financial Planner, the U.S. Board of Standards. And then in 2008 was the chairman. And again, a lot of people you meet, a lot of things you learn from involvement in the profession, things you just wouldn't get exposed to otherwise.
So with that, David, my question is how, and we'll dig into this in several different ways, how has our industry changed from your lens, coming from the IAFP and then the FPA and now CFP? You've seen a lot of water go under the bridge, as they say. Some things for the better, some things maybe not the way that we all would like them in our industry. But maybe speak to that, how you kind of think we've gotten it right, and maybe things that the advisors listening to us today maybe need to focus on. Yeah, there are things we need to straighten out in our industry too.
Well, my dad was an insurance agent, district representative that became a general agent for his company, and he was in Omaha. And early in the profession, the late 1970s, it was really more insurance-based advisors. My partner was $1 Million Roundtable producer, John Severson, and that was the focus of, what can you solve with insurance products? And what he found is, you cannot solve all problems with insurance products. So that's why he and I joined together. So early on, it was capital needs analysis, and that was the forefront of the profession back in the late 1970s. And then it was probably when the Major Tax Revenue Reform Act occurred in the 80s. And then advisors started changing more to an investment base. You saw that more and more. And John and I from the start said, no, we want to develop comprehensive personal financial plans, going through all aspects of an individual's life and get to be a fee-only firm, so we reduce our conflicts of interest. And I think the profession still has some ways to go on that. There's many advisors doing comprehensive plans, but it's hard labor. It's hard to do, takes a lot of energy, not a lot of margin in it, really, if you do it correct. But to make advice in even how to own your investment accounts, you really need to understand their estate plan. You know, what do their wills say or their trusts say? So you have even the simple thing of how to title those accounts correctly. And our profession, yet, if you meet somebody new, one of the questions when you're finding out about each other is, what do you have assets under management? Personally, I think that's the wrong question. It's what amount of wealth are you advising on? I mean, for us to grow, I've been in a lot of discussions of, it takes a regulatory body recognizing personal financial planning. And we're really not there yet. The Certified Financial Planner Board is working on that. But right now, the SEC is registering just your investment work. If they come in for audits, they're not looking through your financial plans. It's just what investments, how you manage them, how you're helping clients. So I think the profession has a ways to go yet.
And one more follow-up with that, David. Do we get there? Is the appetite within the board, and maybe not just CFP, it can be pushed in other areas of our industry? Do you think we get there? Is there an appetite to solve this at the SEC or the regulatory level? It certainly would eliminate some bad actors, which we tend to hear those stories, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the appetite is there. The Certified Financial Planner, the CFP designation, just celebrated its 50th anniversary of the first recipients last December. So, and we just exceeded 100,000 CFP professionals in the US. There's actually more outside the US than that. So we're really a relatively young, relatively small industry as a profession at this point. So there's a lot of room to grow. I mean, we're not the many decades or hundreds of years that attorneys and medical professionals and all those CPAs have had. So there's growth yet. I mean, we can't be satisfied with where we're at. It's still going to keep growing. And
that's great.
People like Michael Kitchis, the word he's putting out, the encouragement of what it takes, and he's got a pretty good pulse on the amount of writing he does and puts out there for us to be aware of what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Having been in the industry for over 30 years, I'm really excited about where we are now. But as Phil said, sometimes it's really disheartening to see the bad actors highlighted and kind of out in the public, and they don't see the advisors that the three of us see, who are doing really good work for their clients and making a difference in their lives. So
that's why the Certified Financial Planner Board, having a disciplinary group, it's one of the few designations that not only has you take the exam, prove your designation, get to continuing ed, code of ethics, but then actually an enforcement body that can remove the marks or suspend them or revoke them for a period of time. So that's what has to occur for us to have for the public to have confidence in CFP professionals that they hire.
Yeah, right. That's absolutely right. So let's change gears. One of the popular topics of conversation on this podcast over the last month or so has been succession planning. And in many cases, our conversations have been around people or with people who are very new to the succession process. But as I look on your website, you state flat out that your succession plan is in place and that your partner, and I apologize, I don't recall his first name, Syverson.
John Severson.
John,
yep.
He's already been through his succession with your firm, and you are next. You're coming up in 2025. Talk about succession planning and why that's so important, and maybe when is the best time to get started, because we get that question quite a bit.
It's going to sound strange, but what I tell people from words of wisdom I've learned over the years is don't get into something unless you know how you're going to get out. So a lot of times you get into something, I don't care if it's a volunteer activity, a business, a relationship, whatever it is, what is the, start with the end in mind. I think there's some authors that write about that. So what is the objective? So when John and I were getting together and looking at developing this business to help clients with their personal financial decisions, we knew we wanted to have a firm that work together and that the firm would buy us out instead of looking for outside buyers. I mean, once you get to a certain age, you're getting emails, calls, let's have a discussion. And sure, there's theoretically you could get more value out of it, but I know other people, and again, serving on boards with some of the great professionals out there, you hear their horror stories of an outside buyer coming in and they don't like how now they're making decisions and they buy back their firm. Okay. So from the start, it was, let's have a firm mentality. Clients are clients of the firm, not pockets, not just professionals officing together. And that was our choice. And so we have the variety of the advisors kind of cross work together. We always have two professionals in each meeting with clients. And so we all get to know each other's work habits. And then a number of years ago, pre-2020, the next management team started working on managing the company. We use the EOS Entrepreneur Operating System and putting them in charge, which they're the leaders going forward. But what it does is it gets them an understanding of the firm. You know, many times the owner comes in and says, I'm going to leave in 6 months. Why don't you guys buy me out? And they're like, well, we don't know really how this works, what's going on. So it gets them that experience of how does the business run? How does it operate? How do you provide top level care for those clients that maintain a sustainable business? And for me, I'm still one of the lead advisors, but we're transferring my clients. Been doing that for 2 or 3 years. It takes that long for a good transition. I'm chairman of the board and serve on the investment committee, but it's a separate management team of 4 people making the decisions, the day-to-day management decisions.
So what's that like, working, and I know you don't feel this way, but kind of working for the firm that you used to lead? Because that is a struggle, I think, that a lot of the senior leaders have, is being around when other people have stepped in and are doing what they did before, making those big decisions.
One of our core client focuses is business owners in transition with a philanthropic interest. So we would lay out this great financial plan, tax efficient, and then the 80-year-old matriarch or patriarch saying, well, my child can't run anything. They're 50 years old. They can't run anything. I'm going to stay. Well, obviously we were missing something because it's their baby. They birthed it, they've grown it, they've evolved it, they've learned from their mistakes. And so we had to bring in some other outside consultants to get that founder prepared of, yes, other people can handle it. Now it may take 2, 3 people to handle the role you've been doing. And so systems like EOS helps with that. Yeah, there's a time period you're struggling, but you have to realize your unique abilities. Is it really managing people? I can do it adequately, but it's not my stellar unique area. And you have to go out, if nothing else, and watch the movie Frozen and listen to the song, Let It Go. There's a point you just got to make it. And one of the big tests of this new management team is then the pandemic hit. So a once in a century event happens and they're having to make tough decisions. And they were reaching out going, Dave, we haven't heard from you because you can't go into your office. We had, 2 or 3 people that are allowed in, and that's it. And now us old people are trying to learn Zoom and, computer technology and a more different system from home. And I said, if there was something bothering me, I'd reach out. And I said, yes, you're making decisions that you have to make. Do I agree with everything? Yeah, there may be some, but is it critical enough that I come in and try to chastise or change it? No. I mean, part of wisdom comes from making decisions and seeing how they work out. And so they've done a good job. And so there is a time period you have to make that adjustment and let the other people, they can pull on you, on your expertise. But what we've encouraged them is rely on other, whether it's study groups or other small groups. Both John and I were very active in study groups nationally. So we learn from other firms' mistakes, what's going well, what's gone wrong. That's how you avoid making even more mistakes on your own that slows you down.
Yeah, that's interesting, David. So talk a little bit more. I was interested when you said that you work in tandem. So I couldn't agree more. Doing proper financial planning it is hard work. It takes a lot of digging in, takes time. What could you share with other advisors listening to us today on how you've built that tandem 2-person kind of approach when you go into a meeting, and let's say it's a client that you've worked with for 20 years, the matriarch and the patriarch, and then you bring in this junior or this other advisor. What are the best practices to make that really work?
Well, we even bring them in on the prospecting process. So they're meeting what we'll call lead, or in my case, senior financial planner, and then the associate financial planner. And we said, actually, here's the person you need to be nice to because they're doing all the work. I just show up and present what they're prepared. But that way they're meeting their team. We try to make sure it's a fit personality-wise, learning style-wise, but it provides them an opportunity up front. And then the firm structure this way, we can bring in other professionals that have a unique knowledge or expertise that we have to bring for that client. That's that freedom we have. So then throughout, now, yes, people leave, retire, whatever, so we have to bring in a new team member. That's that taking 2 to 3 years. So the associate financial planner is collecting the data, entering the data or updates, presenting, getting the raw numbers out. We then have what we call handoff meetings to develop the strategies as a team, bring in other professionals in our firm if needed, and develop the plan. We were using e-money where we would write out the whole plan, all the strategies. Right capital is a little bit more fluid. We're going to that to a number of clients, a little bit more efficient, and you can change on the fly. If the client goes, oh, I forgot to tell you my other $1 million out there. Well, that would have been nice to know. How does it affect the retirement? So that way they're always involved in the meeting. The associate financial planner then is keeping notes and creating action items that when we're done with discussions with the client and presenting it, then the associate financial planner can print out the action items of who does what by when. One thing we've recently added from, again, gaining wisdom from doing it wrong, is on client assigned duties, asking them, when would you like to get this accomplished by? Because if we assign it, it's just put out there. But if they're committing to it, it's something now that they're going, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the role. And the planners, then the financial advisors do more of the marketing, networking is their roles outside of the meetings.
That's so good. So valuable.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about because you've referenced EOS a couple of times, and it can be an intimidating process. I work with several of my clients using that as the backdrop of our strategy, and it's like a financial plan. It can make absolute sense when you first put it together, and then you start living it, and it kind of feels uncomfortable. Maybe the same way a financial plan that's redirecting assets can feel uncomfortable, but then once you kind of leave the suit on for a little while, let it get comfortable, it starts to build out, and then the team starts to gel the way that you intended from that very organized, structured plan.
Well, it's creating that harmony. Everybody in the smaller group in the company, we've got 25 people. So not huge by chance, but they're able to get together, share their insights, their what's going on in their part of the world to contribute to the success of our clients. And so everybody has a voice and they're able to share it, goes back into the system, and you can pull on improvements in various areas based on everybody's input. And we tried it for a while. It worked so well, we stopped doing it. And then we said, we probably should go back to this and, get a consultant to help us a little bit more. And then we've lived with it pretty diligently throughout. And so all the regular scheduled meetings, and you think, oh man, just a whole bunch of meetings, but you get efficient at it and you start seeing the benefits from it.
Yeah, as a coach to advisors, that's always one of my favorite things is you have a client come to you with a challenge and you ask them how they solved for that challenge before, and they tell you, and you say, well, why don't you just go back and do that again? And they're like, well, I don't need you to tell me that. Well, you weren't telling yourself that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I want to change directions one more time, David. As we said just a minute ago, you're in the last year of your business as an active advisor. And obviously there was a lot of purpose behind the business that you built, but you also are going to be very purposeful about what you do next. So I'd love to learn about what you're going to do next. And I probably already know the answer to this question, but when did you start working on that? Because I'm guessing you just didn't think that up this month.
Yeah, really in 2015, I was getting a little bit more purposeful, going through Bible studies, study groups at church. Psalm 32:8 goes in and says, the Lord says, I will guide you down the best path for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. To me, that was just a tremendous promise from the Lord, but I got to communicate with him. I have to be in communication. Where are you guiding me? What do you want me to do? So I became real involved with a vulnerable youth ranch called Wildwood Hills Ranch by St. Charles, Iowa. I would go down and have a glorious hour of fishing chaos, helping 38 to 12-year-olds catch fish down there. Then I started teaching the older 13 to 18-year-olds personal finance. My wife then got involved driving the draft horse team. And then her and I are running a worm farm as a revenue source, selling the worm castings, worm manure to help. It's the best natural dirt enhancer. So as I looked ahead, and I enjoy playing volleyball and pickleball, basketball, since it wasn't a really socially distant sport. I haven't played much since COVID. But I saw a lot of activities, a lot going on. And it was like, okay, I think I got plenty that I can do. And I can actually go fish a couple times, a week instead of 2 times a summer. And I enjoy hunting. And then I was at a Kingdom Advisor conference in Orlando in February. And for some reason, I felt led and moved to explore becoming a certified Christian financial counselor. Well, I have the gifts for it. I've been doing this for 42 years. I have a passion for it, have the abilities, hopefully, after that time period, and my personality and the experience. And it was just picking up the counseling and the faith-based counseling. So I just, a week and a half ago, passed the test, and then visiting with my church to volunteer as a Christian financial counselor to people in need. I mean, over 60% of the population doesn't have $1,000 set aside for emergency. $1,000. And our clients we work with, yes, 3 to 6 months, that's one phase you want to get to, but starting out for the short-term emergencies. So I just got led, and now it's how to apply that and continue it. So I thought I had my plate full, but God said, no, here's your next step, go down this path, and here's the light. And I'm not going to show you the end game yet. So still proceeding to see how it'll get utilized, but that Art Rainer's program with the certification in Christian financial counseling, I found it good information. I wish I had that wisdom as he does. That looks like a relatively young age to me now, but I was impressed with the program.
Well, that's great. You are not going to be bored, I don't think. So, but on a just a very basic level, Do you give any guidance to your clients or to your colleagues? Encourage them to think more about, living more authentically, more purposefully, so that their life and their business is more than just their life and their business?
Yeah, that's always the critical part. As we have a Kingdom Advisor study group here that people can join, that goes through some of those factors. And it's sharing that what we're doing to help encourage it. As I kid around with clients is as they prepare for retirement. Have you ever taken a 4-week vacation or a 6-week vacation? They're like, well, no. I said, okay, the first month of vacation is great. I don't have to, go out and do anything. I can just manage my own schedule. And I said, okay, what are you going to do after those first 4 weeks? And that's part of that, who you are, how do you apply it to fulfill the purpose in this life? And from my perspective, it's glorifying God by using my gifts to serve God and others. I mean, that's the purpose that I perceive from God's word. And so it's encouraging people to explore that. The sabbatical gives them time to do that. I mean, otherwise it's work, work, work. You're retired. Hope I found something useful to do. And so the management team implemented it last year. Another group's going through. So every 5 years they can re-up and go through that. And one of the books I listened to for the certification, Redeeming Money by Paul David Tripp, and another one, he goes through taking a sabbatical as you enter retirement. If you don't have it figured out, take some time, set it aside. And a brief 6-minute podcast I did talked about how to live in retirement, how to find, if you don't know your unique gifts, what you're prepared to do, you need to figure it out and start applying it. Otherwise, retirement's going to be frustrating. Retirees all say, oh, I love retirement. It's great. But if you dig down into it, okay, so what are you doing? Well, playing golf 4 days a week, complaining about my aches and pains to my buddies, and go there, and they need to find that and apply it, and that's what makes you come alive. There's a lot going on, but sitting around is probably not the preferred mode.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, I love that. When I first got started in the business, I was trying to work with people who were retired already because they were available during the day. And as a young financial advisor, talking to people who were available during the day was very attractive to me because I didn't want to work every night. But this one retirement community I work with called the Imperial Plaza had 3 buildings, the A building, the B building, and the C building. And it was always fascinating to me. You go into the A building, which is where all the activities were and where people hung out. And people could have been 80 and they acted like they were 60. You went to the B building, which was further away. They looked like they were 70. In the C building, the 60-year-olds looked like 80-year-olds. It was just fascinating. And it all had to do with this activity and making yourself being very intentional about what it is you want to do to have purpose in what you're doing, whether you're working or you're retired.
Well, and unfortunately in America, statistically, it's a little bit over 2/3 of the workers really don't like their work. And that's a sad statement. They're doing it for economic reasons, and they've really not figured out who they are, what'll bring enjoyment, satisfaction. Yes, all jobs have some frustrations with them, but let's apply it. So they're so desperate to retire, they get there and they haven't figured out those other components. They all want to travel and do things, but you can only travel for so long.
Right.
Home sweet home, they like getting back there and relaxing. So and we spend a lot of time on that. We spend a lot of time on philanthropic giving, because life's not about things. It's not, you try to satisfy your soul or your personality with things, but it's really when you find using your gifts to serve others, that's when you come alive. that's then you're going, wow, I'm helping people and make a difference, whether it's small or great. Doesn't have to be the greatest thing in the world. I'm a planner. I love to plan, and me not knowing exactly how the certification in Christian financial counseling is going to be used, that's a different mindset for me. I mean, I've been projecting out 10 plus years in our business, how it's going to flow, how the transitions will work. But this one is just like, okay, show me where we're going and we'll see what happens and who we can help along the way.
Yeah,
Stepping
awesome.
out on faith there.
Yep.
Yeah, darn it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what you said.
We plan, God laughs, and now I'm going, okay, I won't let him laugh at me as hard. I'll just see where he's leading. I mean, Blackaby writes about an experiencing God. Join in where God is already working. And unfortunately, so many people get an idea for their own nonprofit. I mean, I can go out and start my own nonprofit, do free Christian financial counseling, but there's probably dozens and dozens of that already in just central Iowa. And there's 10,000 nonprofits in central Iowa alone, and more being added all the time because everybody wants to control their little part. And you got to realize you got to give up that control, whether it's your business or aspects of life or the spiritual journey. There's things you got to step out in faith and work with others, let them run with it and add what you can, to what's going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, believe it or not, we've been going at this for about 30 minutes, which is where we try to cut things off. But I have to ask one more question, David, just give you a chance to maybe add at the end, maybe one piece of advice that you'd like to give the industry or to the advisors listening to this podcast is probably a better way to say that, that kind of ties together what you are doing, because you've left us with so many different great nuggets of information that people can really respond to.
Yeah, really understand why you're working. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish as you're doing the work you're doing as a financial advisor? And we focus on that with clients, and you need to focus on that for yourself also. And what is you're trying to accomplish, and focus and look at that around that, and develop where you're developing a firm or it's your own solo practice, and then relate it to people, what your plan is out there, and bring up those discussions. There's been local advisors that just solo practice, just quit the practice, and the clients will figure it out. Well, that's a disservice. And most of the practices are solo, or 1 to 4 people is all they have in it. So bring those discussions and understand. And it's not all about the money. I mean, some get so hung up on the money and focus on that purpose and what you're going to contribute, and that's fulfilling of who you are.
Right. Well, you could be doing
Great
a
advice.
commercial for the coaching work that we try to do, because we think it's really important to lead with that. So I'm glad that you ended there. David, it has been awesome to have you on this call. I have learned so much. I'm feeling like we probably need to schedule a follow-up episode for you about a year from now so we can hear how it ended up. And I really want to know how much profit you're making in the worm farm. Because
well, we're making no profit because all the revenue is going to the Wildwood Hills range.
Well, I mean, the result of it, I guess. I guess I'm trying to understand the result of that as a.
And then we can educate your listeners what worm castings are, because the probably 95% have no clue what they are.
Yes,
I know I don't.
Now you can research.
All right. Well, let's end it there. Talking about worms. David, thanks for being with us. To our audience, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. And as always, we are rooting for your success.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Purpose Focused Advisor. If you want to learn more, head over to our website, truestfancoaching.com. There you'll learn all about becoming a purpose-focused advisor. You'll also find today's show notes and links to the other gifts and resources we talked about during the episode. Again, thanks for listening, and remember, we're rooting for your success.